Hello once again. Today I wanted to talk to you about why, despite being omnipotent, God allows evil in the world. Beginning even one step further back, we need maybe to talk about God's omnipotence, because often people will claim that because God hasn't done certain things they feel he should do, he obviously cannot be omnipotent. And what we need to realize is that, of course, as with anyone who is superior in something, sometimes we're not able to exercise our power fully in order to help someone else to develop. An example, very simple example, would be a father playing football with his little son. If he were to exercise all his skill and his power straight away and all the time, the little boy wouldn't learn very much from him. It would just be very frustrating for him. He has to limit his exercise of these things in order to allow the child to learn and to grow and to become what he needs to become. The same is true if you went to learn, for example, to play the piano from some maestro. If he just played some beautiful music that he knows how to play and went ahead with that, as a student you would learn very little. He needs to come down to your level in order to allow you to develop from there and to grow towards what you hope and he hopes you will become. And so it is with God, with his power. He doesn't exercise all his power all the time. He brings it down to our level. Otherwise, things would be awfully confusing for us and we would never be able to learn from him. It would just be too much too quickly. And so we come to the question of evil and why God allows evil in the world. You see, by giving us free will and allowing us to choose how we want to live, of necessity there had to be good and evil. If there were only good, there would be no choice, and so we would no longer be human, because as humans we differ from most of the rest of creation in that we can choose to be good or evil. The real mystery lies in the fact that we don't know exactly what God has in mind for us after this life, after this experience. But it's important enough that he allows it to be good and evil and allows us to have free will to choose one or other. This is why in a number of my talks I refer to the point that we really cannot do what we believe to be good out of fear of God. It's something we need to learn for ourselves. We need to see that it's for our good that we live that way, and to be convinced that this is the way of living. And when it becomes ours, then we have the true growth that God intends for us in this life. What happens very often when people feel this way, that God's omnipotence ought to mean that he could do things differently, we don't realize how strangely we are actually looking at life. An example, perhaps, that many of us will have had similar experiences in our lives of, is I once was contacted by a friend of mine that I hadn't had contact with for some time, and one of his first retorts was, "Why did your God allow my wife to get breast cancer twice?" You see, he felt that God was being unfair to her, that she'd suffered this illness. And he was angry about that because he felt it wasn't fair, she didn't deserve it. The fact is that she did have this illness, and obviously that wasn't an easy thing, but you see, it cannot be the same for everybody. What he wasn't thinking about is that while he was angry with God and wanted to know why God had allowed her to get this cancer, he didn't stop to say, why is it that God gave her 3 healthy children who all grew up able to work, had produced a pretty good life for themselves? Why was it that God gave her a husband who loved her to the state of, even being 70 years old, still loved her, that he could become that angry about her having to suffer an illness? Why was it that God put her in circumstances in her life where they'd enjoyed many things, been able to travel and so on. Those questions didn't arise, but you see, he felt that she shouldn't have been ill either. Now, the fact is that if we start thinking, well, there are a lot of other people who don't get ill like that, so I shouldn't, we're saying that all people should be treated the same, all people should be equal. And that's simply not possible in our world. You see, to be equal, we would all have to be the same gender, same height, same age, same look, same physical condition, same everything. Because as soon as there's a difference, one would feel that it's not fair because they're not like what someone else has. We would all have to live exactly the same amount of time and all at the same time. And so, obviously, that's just impracticable. The world cannot be like that. And so when we get angry with God and say, why does he allow evil? We actually are saying that we are unhappy that things aren't the same, but they cannot be the same for everyone. One also finds, for example, that people who are practicing Christians very often can be quite put out at the idea that someone can repent in the last moments of their life and still attain heaven, and they feel that this is unfair. When this happens, what they don't realize is that what they're feeling is that they missed out somehow in life by living a good life. By following God's commandments loyally, they have missed out on some fun or something else in their lives. What they don't realize is, of course, this is the normal thing of the devil. It's all a lie, because it's not that those sins bring happiness. They may bring a bit of enjoyment for a very brief period of time, but they don't bring lasting happiness. And so their living a good life according to God's will in this life has actually made their lives better already. And so the person who only reaches that state right at the end of their life has missed out on a lot. And so we should actually just rejoice that they have reached that stage, albeit at the last moment of their lives, and really be happy for them that they got there, but a little sad that they didn't have this happiness throughout their lives. And so if we want to know why God in his omnipotence allows evil in the world, it's to allow us to be human. It's allow us to reach a stage where we can see for ourselves and be convinced in our hearts that this is the best way for us to live, and it can become ours. And this is what the stage we need to be at for what comes after this life. And this is our purpose of being on earth, is to discover that this is actually what is our real life. And I hope that these talks may help you along your path of growing to this realization that really living according to God's way is what gives you a good life and a happy life. And may God bless you.